There was no bio on Mia's profile, only pictures, and within a handful of messages, she'd asked me over to her place. Straight out of the gate, that was 2 red flags, but she swore she wasn't a catfish, so I suggested we grab a quick drink first. That way, if a hairy biker dude turned up and made kissy faces at me, I could make a speedy getaway through the fire exit. Mia looked like a goddess in her thigh-high skirt and trench coat. She had these stunning onyx eyes and almost seemed to glow in the cozy little café. Every time she tossed her hair, the other patrons stole glances in the back bar mirror. She looked different from the photos, sure, but still leagues above me. I went for a hug, which she redirected into a firm handshake. Mia wore thick winter gloves, even though the fireplace in the corner was roaring. As I caught a trace of her scent, fresh and lovely, a sensible voice at the back of my mind screamed, "What's the catch?" Surely any second now, she'd trick me into emptying my bank account. Crap. Maybe she'd already swiped my credit card? I patted my pockets. Wallet, phone, Pokemon keychain. Nope. All there. Already the marshal waving that 3rd red flag was a speck in the rearview mirror. The barista took our orders. I asked for a latte while Mia stuck with water. Then we eased into a conversation about our lives. When I started telling her about life in the IT game, she yawned sarcastically. Chuckling, I said, "Well, what do you do?" "I'm between jobs." Between what and what? Between surgeon and anything that doesn't involve bodily fluids. Huh. I thought they might have warned you about those in medical school. I didn't always have a problem with them. There was a traumatizing experience. She shuddered as if reliving a painful memory. Anyway, let's talk about your sex life. Caught off guard, I spat a mouthful of coffee all over the counter. An agitated Mia grabbed a wet wipe from her pocket, cleared the mess, and then readjusted the placemats and napkins so everything aligned perfectly. The ginger barista side-eyed her but said nothing. The beautiful brunette told me she had a bunch of kinks, and I'd be lying if I told you my heart didn't flutter a little. She asked whether I was ready for another drink. I was, although I took small, steady sips because I never could handle my alcohol. Any more than 4 pints usually resulted in me clinging onto the toilet bowl like a life raft. Finally, I just came out with what was nagging at me. Mia, don't take this the wrong way, but are you real? Like, what's the catch here? Am I going to wake up tomorrow missing a kidney? That made her chuckle. I'll be honest. There is a catch. I'll tell you if you promise not to make fun of me. I crossed my heart. She leaned close, pushed her pouty lips right up against my ear, and said, I'm a clean freak. Like, a major clean freak. If you come back to my place tonight, I need you to wash yourself the second we get there. As her gloved finger ran along my shirt collar, she fought the urge to retch. Those clothes will need to be cleaned too. I've got a fresh pair you can borrow, and you must brush your teeth. Also, have you got an earwax remover with you? If not, you can borrow one from my emergency kit. I asked whether she was serious. Deadly. I absolutely cannot stand filth. I need you. Spotless. Sound good? A winning lottery ticket had blown into my hand. I finished my drink in one long gulp, wiped away my foam mustache, and said, Sounds great. In the front seat of her car, Mia handed me a breath mint, probably because a trace of my aunt's famous lasagna lingered on my breath. She drove west out of town, toward an ultra-modern house standing against the forest. The straight angles of the white building looked odd, juxtaposed against the pine trees, and there was an angular barrier around back keeping the vermin at bay. The sterile stench of disinfectant stung my nostrils the second we stepped through the front door. Everything was meticulously organized, all straight lines and spotless, like something from an IKEA catalog. You could have performed open-heart surgery in any room. There wasn't a single piece of furniture not covered in plastic, and 2 stuffed kittens batting invisible string stood guard in the downstairs landing. Aren't they cute? Mia asked when she noticed me staring. It's like she occupied an alternative shrink-wrapped universe. She made me kick off my shoes, then I followed her to the end of the hall. Standing in the middle of the bathroom, she watched as I stripped off. Her neutral expression stung. She grabbed my clothes into a zip-locked bag which she held away from herself like radioactive waste, and then she provided clear instructions about which soap and shampoo I needed to use. I bit down on the temptation to tell her I'd been washing myself for years, the sarcasm is probably what kept me single for so long, and stepped into the shower. Mia left a white linen shirt and a pair of jeans folded neatly over the towel rack. The earwax remover on the edge of the sink operated like something out of Star Trek. I figured out the settings eventually, though. In the lounge, she handed me a shot of something fruity and sour. We clinked glasses and drank. The liquid burned on the way down. I went to sit on the sofa, but the plastic made it slicker than a water slide. I fell to the ground, and before I could pick myself up, my head got heavy, and the air became stale. What happened next is a blur. 1 minute the ground was shifting beneath my feet. Next, I'm flat on my back. My legs were stuck. Alcohol was sloshing around the pit of my stomach, and breathing was borderline impossible. I made myself look down, a surprisingly difficult process. Past the end of the bed, Mia rose into view, a mean-spirited grin on her face. She was encasing my legs with shrink wrap like an Egyptian mummy, gradually working her way north. I opened my mouth. No words came out. "Shh, this won't take long," she said. She swung her leg over my midsection, straddling me. Then she leaned forward and pushed her lips against my ear. "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. You look so handsome, all lovely and spotless. I'm just making sure you stay that way. Forever." Her tongue probed the inside of my ear, and then she went to fetch medical equipment from the corner of the room. My brain couldn't piece the mess together, but I knew I needed to get out of there. Fast. I tried flexing my leg muscles but lacked the strength. Mia's arms clamped tight around my ankles. "Stop! You're messing everything up!" With all the energy I could summon, I thrashed from side to side until I fell off the bed. The wooden floor hit worse than concrete. I opened my mouth to groan, but instead, a great flood of vomit shot out as if launched by a supercharged sprinkler. Chunks of lasagna flew in every direction, a fountain of half-digested beef, mince, onions, carrots, and garlic. Mia rushed over to restrain me, but I rolled away, and as I did, her shoes skidded through the rancid contents of my stomach, and she fell. The germaphobe popped right back up. She looked at her palms, then the wet patches all down her back, and then her throat made this strangled sound like a cat hacking up a fur ball. She grabbed a set of wet wipes and started scrubbing herself clean, furiously. Sensing an opportunity to escape, I crawled away like a worm, leaving behind a snail trail of barf. "Get back here!" Mia screamed. She physically couldn't stop scrubbing her hands long enough to come after me. I crawled down the hall, around a bend. At one point, I needed to use the crown of my head to force a door open. The entire time, I was coughing and trying to keep that morning's breakfast from creeping up in my throat. Soon I was conscious enough to realize my left arm was free, whereas the right was pinned against my torso. To my left was the kitchen. Maybe there was a sharp object there I could cut the shrink wrap with? I fumbled towards a central island, crawled up the side, and pulled on a drawer. Cutlery fell all around me with a series of metal clangs, followed by the drawer. My free hand dug through the pile for a knife, finding only spoons. Finally, I grabbed a fork and stabbed at the wrap until my other arm came free. I was like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. Footsteps came shuffling toward the kitchen. Freeing my legs would take way too long. They still only had a few inches of wiggle room. I would be at Mia's mercy. Just then, something rancid slid up my throat, so I opened my mouth and spat a fat, sticky oyster of what had once been scrambled eggs and bacon, but now looked like an alien life form, into my palm. The beautiful psycho burst through the door. In her hand was a syringe. She launched herself on top of me, My left hand caught her forearm at the last possible second, while the right smeared my biological weapon across her face. As the vomit omelet dripped from her cheek in fat glops, she released the needle and went into furious convulsions. Quickly, I rolled on top of her, grabbed the fallen drawer, and bashed her across the side of the skull. I did this until her eyes rolled back. Then I crawled away on my elbows. In the hall, there was a phone on top of a side table. I punched in $9.99. The operator couldn't understand me, but sent a squad car anyway. I remember telling myself to stay awake in case my kidnapper recovered. But here, my memory jump cuts to a circle of emergency responders staring down at me. The officers had a hard time believing my story. A concussed Mia said I went crazy and attacked her. On the way to the station, they took us to the hospital to patch up our cuts and bruises. Everybody seemed to believe I was the aggressor until the police searched the area surrounding the house. In the forest, they spotted a pack of rats scurrying around some bushes, and beneath it, there was a body, partially buried, badly decomposed, and wrapped in plastic. A post-mortem confirmed it was the corpse of a local man who'd disappeared 6 months earlier. I'd seen his mother crying on TV. There were holes in the crotch and left arm of his shrink-wrap prison, where they believed a catheter and IV drip had been inserted so Mia could keep the poor guy alive, but in a state which prevented him from contaminating her perfect house. Mia is denying any wrongdoing. Hopefully the prosecutors get their act together soon, although I'm told it could take a year before sentencing. Wheels of justice and all that. I'm still on the road to recovery, mentally speaking, but I'm ready to start looking for love again. Except this time, I'll be careful not to ignore any red flags.